What if suffering isn't a detour but a pathway to understanding deeper truths? Today, we journey back to the ancient times, to the story of a man named Job. In our quest to understand the human experience, we often find ourselves grappling with the concept of adversity. What is it? Why does it exist? And perhaps the most haunting question of all, why must we endure it? Our search for answers takes us back several millennia to a land far, far away. Here lived a man named Job. Picture him not as a mere character in a tale, but as a living, breathing individual. He was prosperous, with thousands of sheep, camels, oxen and donkeys, and a large household. He was the epitome of success, a testament to the rewards of diligence and hard work. But Job's wealth was not his defining trait. He was a man of unwavering righteousness, a beacon of piety in a world brimming with moral ambiguity. Job's story is not just about prosperity or piety, it's about adversity, it's about suffering, and more importantly, about finding meaning amidst that suffering. As we delve into his narrative, we are not just reading an ancient text, we are embarking on a journey into the heart of human suffering, and into the profound wisdom that it can impart. Life, as we know it, is filled with trials and tribulations. It can be a roller coaster of highs and lows, of joy and sorrow, of triumph and defeat. But what if these trials are not just random events? What if they are, in fact, opportunities for us to grow, to learn, to evolve? What if adversity, in its most raw and brutal form, is a catalyst for transformation? Job's life, as we shall soon discover, was not a bed of roses. It was a tumultuous journey fraught with unimaginable hardships. But it was also a journey of resilience, of faith, and of deep spiritual awakening. So let us dig deeper into Job's life, a life that was about to be turned upside down. Imagine being a pawn in a cosmic wager. This was Job's fate. The divine bet between God and Satan was about to begin. In the celestial realms, a conversation unfurled between God and Satan. God, in his infinite wisdom, presented Job as an example of virtue and piety, a man who was upright and feared God. Satan, the adversary, was quick to challenge this assertion. He argued that Job's faith was conditional, merely a byproduct of his prosperity. Satan contended that Job was pious because God had put a protective hedge around him and his possessions. In essence, Job's faith, according to Satan, was a transactional relationship, rooted not in genuine devotion, but in the blessings he had received. Satan proposed an audacious wager, a test of Job's faith. He challenged God, saying, "But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." The stakes of this celestial bet were high. It was not about winning or losing, but about the integrity of faith and the nature of human devotion. God, in his infinite wisdom, accepted Satan's challenge. However, there was one condition. Satan could take away Job's possessions, inflict him with physical pain, but he could not take away Job's life. This divine wager was not about life or death, but about faith and devotion in the face of adversity. So, the stage was set. Job, the unsuspecting pawn, was about to become the central figure in a divine experiment, a test of faith under the most trying circumstances. Unbeknownst to him, his life was about to take a dramatic turn, his faith about to be tested like never before. Satan was granted permission to test Job's faith, and thus, Job's trials began. A man who was once blessed was now set to lose everything he held dear, not out of punishment, but as part of a divine test, a celestial wager that would reveal the true nature of human faith and devotion. From riches to rags, from joy to despair, Job's world crumbled rapidly. Imagine, if you will, a man at the pinnacle of prosperity, respected and revered, losing everything he holds dear in the blink of an eye. This was the fate of Job, a man of unwavering faith and integrity. Job's misfortunes began to unfold like a tragic play. Once a wealthy man, Job lost his livestock and servants, his wealth stripped away in a single day. But the worst was yet to come. Job's 10 children, his pride and joy, were feasting in their eldest brother's house when a mighty wind swept in, collapsing the house and claiming their lives. Job found himself bereft of his beloved offspring, his heart heavy with sorrow. As if losing his wealth and children wasn't cruel enough, Job was dealt another blow. He was afflicted with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. These agonizing sores, a physical manifestation of his grief and despair, rendered him almost unrecognizable. Imagine the pain, the despair, the heartache. Job, once a beacon of prosperity and righteousness, was reduced to a pitiful state, his body scarred, his heart broken, his spirit seemingly crushed. The world as he knew it, filled with blessings and joy, had been replaced by a world of suffering and loss. And yet, despite these misfortunes, Job did not curse his fate. He did not blame the heavens for his suffering. Instead he said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Such was the strength of Job's faith. In the face of such adversity, how did Job respond, you may ask? Well, that's a story for the next scene. For now, let's ponder on the trials of Job, a man who experienced the harsh reality of life's unpredictable turns, yet clung to his faith with steadfast resolve. Even the strongest trees sway in the storm. Job too wavered under the weight of his suffering. In the throes of his trials, Job's faith began to wobble. His fortunes had turned from prosperity to despair, from joy to sorrow, from life to death. His story, however, is not just about the suffering he endured, it's about the questions he asked, the doubts he harbored, the faith he questioned. Job's initial reactions to his trials were a testament to his unwavering faith. He accepted his fate with resignation, acknowledging that just as the Lord gives, the Lord takes away. But as his suffering intensified, as his body was ravaged by disease and his spirit crushed by loss, Job began to question. He questioned not his faith in God, but God's justice. He grappled with the question that has plagued humanity since the dawn of time. Why do the righteous suffer? Job, a man of integrity and piety, couldn't reconcile his unyielding faith with the inexplicable suffering he was subjected to. He wondered why a just God would allow an upright man like himself to endure such pain and adversity. Job's faith was not lost, but it was certainly tested. He grappled with his belief, wrestling with the paradox of a compassionate God who allows suffering. His faith was a flame flickering in the wind, wavering but never extinguishing. In his darkest moments, Job cried out to God, seeking answers, yearning for justice. His pleas were not of defiance but of desperation. He didn't renounce his faith. Instead, he sought to understand, to find meaning in his suffering, to reconcile his belief in a loving God with the harsh realities of his life. Job's story reminds us that it's okay to question, to seek answers, to grapple with our faith. His wavering faith is a testament to his humanity, a reflection of his struggle to understand God's ways. His faith was shaken but not broken. However, the worst was yet to come. Opening. In the midst of suffering, Job was visited by 3 friends, each with their own interpretation of his plight. When we find ourselves in the throes of adversity, it's often the voices of those we confide in that become the loudest in our minds. For Job, these voices belonged to his 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Each of them arrived with a perspective, a lens through which they viewed Job's predicament. Let's delve into their viewpoints. Eliphaz was the first to speak, a man who believed in a world where actions have direct consequences, a world of reaping and sowing. He suggested that Job's suffering was a direct result of his sins, a punishment from the heavens. "Remember," Eliphaz said, "whoever perished being innocent, or where were the upright destroyed?" In his eyes, Job was merely facing the music of his own actions. Next we hear from Bildad, a man who held a similar perspective. He saw the world as a stage where justice was performed without fail. He too echoed Eliphaz's sentiments, stating, "If you were pure and upright, surely now he would awake for you, and make the habitation of your righteousness prosperous." For Bildad, it was a matter of righteousness. He believed that if Job were truly blameless, he would not be suffering. Last but not least, Zophar entered the conversation. He was the most fierce and unforgiving of the 3. Zophar believed that Job's suffering was not only a punishment for his sins, but also a warning for others. He claimed, "Should your lies make men hold their peace? And when you mock, shall no man make you ashamed?" In Zophar's world, suffering was not just a consequence, but a spectacle, a lesson for all to observe. As we've seen, each of Job's friends held a similar belief, that Job's suffering was a punishment for his sins. Despite their intentions, their words did little to comfort Job. Instead, their advice, their interpretations of his suffering, only added to his distress. Imagine the pain of Job, a man already in the depths of despair, now being accused by his friends of bringing these trials upon himself. Their words, intended to shed light on his situation, instead cast long dark shadows of doubt, guilt, and self-blame. The advice of Job's friends serves as a cautionary tale for us. It reminds us of the importance of empathy and understanding when dealing with others' suffering. It's all too easy to judge, to point fingers, and to draw conclusions from our limited perspectives. But in doing so, we may unintentionally add to the pain of those we wish to comfort. Closing. Their words added salt to Job's wounds, deepening his agony. In his darkest hour, Job never lost sight of his faith. This statement rings with a profound truth that reverberates through the annals of history. In the face of adversity, despair, and loss, Job managed to hold on to his faith, a beacon of light in a sea of darkness. Despite the tumultuous storm that was his life, Job found the strength to question, to doubt, and to seek answers. But let's be clear, questioning isn't a sign of weak faith. Rather, it's an indication of a strong, dynamic, and living faith. Job wasn't satisfied with blind obedience. He wanted to understand, to comprehend the wisdom of God, the wisdom that allowed such hardship to befall him. His friends offered their advice, their perspectives, their interpretations of the divine. They tried to solve the riddle of his suffering. But Job, he sought something more profound, more personal. He sought a direct connection, an intimate dialogue with the deity. And in this pursuit, Job found himself reaffirming his faith. He recognized that the wisdom of God was beyond human comprehension, that the divine plan was something he could not fully grasp. He understood that his suffering, however painful, was part of a larger, more complex tapestry. Job's faith was not passive acceptance, but active engagement. He questioned, he doubted, he wrestled with his beliefs. And through this struggle, he found a deeper, more profound understanding of his faith. He found a faith that was not brittle, but flexible, not shallow, but profound, not blind, but insightful. In the end, Job's faith was not a mere belief in the existence of God. It was a deep, personal connection with the divine, a trust in the wisdom of the divine plan, a resilience that allowed him to endure the harshest trials. His faith was a testament to his strength, his courage, his unwavering spirit. His faith remained unbroken, even in the face of the harshest trials. This is the story of Job, a story of faith reaffirmed, of resilience personified, of wisdom sought and found. When the storm passed, the sun shone on Job once again. Such is the cyclical nature of life. After the storm comes the calm. And so it was for Job, as we delve into the final chapter of his saga. In recognition of Job's unwavering faith and steadfastness, God restored his fortunes. But it wasn't just a simple restoration. It was an upgrade, a blessing in abundance. God didn't just return what was lost, he multiplied it, giving Job twice as much as he had before. Job, who had lost everything, was now the possessor of a wealth that was double his original. This turn of events brings to the fore the concept of divine justice. Job's patience and faith in the face of unimaginable suffering had not gone unnoticed. His resilience was rewarded, his losses replaced, and his life restored. He was blessed with 7 sons and 3 daughters, considered the most beautiful in the land. His latter days were more prosperous than his beginning. Job's story is not just about the restoration of material wealth. It's about the restoration of hope, faith, and spirit. It's about finding meaning in suffering and emerging stronger from the trials of life. It's about the resilience of the human spirit, about its capacity to endure, to hope, and to rebuild. Job lived 140 years after his trials, seeing his children, his grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren. He experienced life in its fullest measure, the joys and the sorrows, the losses and the gains. Through it all, he remained steadfast, his faith unbroken, his spirit unyielding. Job's story ends on a note of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It's a tale that resonates with us today, reminding us that no matter the trials we face, no matter the storms that rage, the sun will shine once again. We just need to hold on, keep the faith, and weather the storm. For in the end, restoration awaits.